You know, the majority of the things in life that we worry about or that we're upset about, whether it's something we're worrying about that's going to happen in the future, whether it's something we're upset about from the past, these things are very, very rarely affecting us in the present moment. Have you noticed that? If you don't believe me, just think right now about there's probably, these ducks are going crazy. There's probably something on your mind that you're stressing about, maybe something that you're apprehensive about, maybe something that you're constantly thinking about that you're stuck on that happened in the past. Our mind is always in either one of those two places. It's either, or the ego, I should say, the ego, the mind, our thoughts. It's either ruminating about something from the past or it's worried about something in the future. But you've noticed that nothing is ever really affecting us in this present moment. Even if you are, say, worried about maybe some bad news you'll find out, or, just anything. It's going to happen really quick usually. Like the things we worry about, it'll happen. Like the thing that we're stressing about so much will realistically only probably last a few seconds, a few minutes. And we'll deal with it, and most of the time it's probably never going to really be that bad, or it's never even going to materialize because our mind loves to create problems. So the point is that most of the things that we stress over, the things that we worry about, don't ever really affect us right here and now. And you can always find safety in the present moment. You can always find safety in your breathing because your breathing is only ever happening here and now. Your breath, this is why breathing meditations, mindfulness, they always recommend, all the way from the times of like Buddha to, in Hinduism and Taoism, most meditations, the most foundational meditation practices always have to involve putting your awareness on your breath because your breath is only ever happening right here and now. It's only ever happening in the present moment. You can't breathe in the future or the past. So your breath is essentially reality. And you use your breath as sort of an anchor. You breathe in and then you breathe out. And you put all of your attention, all of your focus, all of your awareness just on that simple breathing pattern of in and out. Don't overthink it. Don't try too hard to focus on your breath. It will be a bit difficult if it's your first time doing it because our mind is so conditioned to think. You might not even be able to do it for more than 2 seconds. That's how I was. That's why I was actually kind of not really turned off to meditation, but I found it really difficult to really commit to it in the beginning because I just couldn't. My mind was so racing all over the place all the time that it was so hard for me to even just sit for a few seconds and focus on my breath to practice mindfulness. But then, I committed to it, and eventually it was one of the great, it completely changed. Because what happens is, when you practice that over a long period of time, if you have to constantly return to your breath, all throughout the day. Every time that your mind is starting to race, you're starting to judge, you're starting to have opinions, you're starting to worry, anytime your mind is getting lost in thought, you can always find safety from that in your breathing. Or if you're dealing with a lot of, thinking about the past, a lot of depression. I found that to be one of the most life-changing things, because like I said, my mind used to be all over the place all the time. But the more that I practiced returning to my breath, whether it was I actually sat down in the morning and meditated for 20 minutes, or just in conjunction with that, just throughout the day, returned to my breath all throughout the day. Anytime that I would get worked up, I would get emotional, my mind would start going all over the place, I would bring it right back to the breath and just sit with that, even if it was just for a couple of seconds. And the more that you get into this habit, you sort of condition your mind from always thinking to now being in the present moment. Because like I said, the breath is in the present moment. So when you constantly practice anchoring your attention, your awareness to the breath, you're going to sort of condition the mind to be in the present moment. But it's just an important thing to remember. Like, no matter what you're going through in life, no matter how bad things might seem, it's never really affecting you right now. It's just your mind. It's just your mind creating unnecessary drama, because that's what the mind loves to do. It loves to create problems. That's why we have wars and so many horrific things happening in the world, because it's all created by the human mind. It's all created by fear. But when you could sort of find that salvation through your breathing, and now your mind starts to quiet and you're more present throughout the day, because like I said, it's going to carry over into your everyday life, and it'll sort of manifest itself into your outward, the way that you perceive people, the way that you interact with people, the way that people perceive you. It brings you like the ultimate confidence. You don't get confident by necessarily trying to be confident or by trying to practice, ways to speak, although I mean, like, that could probably be helpful, or by reciting mantras in the mirror. Again, there could be some effectiveness to that. You become truly confident by always being in the moment. And it's not to say that I don't still deal with thinking from time to time, but it just doesn't feel as real. It used to just feel like my thoughts had such a grip on me, and they just felt so intrusive, and like there was no way to escape them. But now it feels more like my thoughts are somebody sort of out here, like whispering to me, and I can kind of just sort of ignore them, more or less. They don't dictate my life like they used to. And that's essentially how I went from being pretty depressed and anxious from the ages of like 16 to 26 or so, 27. And it was until I discovered mindfulness that it was a complete change for me. Remember, you have to have a lot of patience. And like I always say, you have to have a lot of discipline. You have to be willing to take some time out and sit and really focus on your breathing. And like I said, you could do it throughout the day, but I really recommend also setting some time aside to just sitting for 5 or 10 minutes and to just breathe and to just focus on that breath. Let the thoughts be there. Don't try to control them. Don't try to resist them. They can be there, but don't give in to them. Always bring your awareness back to your breath when you feel that way. When you feel the thoughts starting to get a little noisy, just bring your awareness back to the breath only. Just think about what I'm saying. Realize that nothing is ever really affecting you that much. And you could sort of save yourself from your thoughts with the power of the breath.